Hi guys, it's Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner, and today I'm going to be playing with the new fall Gnomies, or fall gnomes. I gotta call them Gnomies because they're just adorable. Anyway, I'm going to be playing with the fall gnomes stamp and die of the month. This is the this is the clear stamp and die of the month, which means that we've got little dies to cut out pretty much all the fun things that are in the stamp set. And I'm starting off with some G&K Amalgam ink, and I'm just going to stamp out a couple of panels of all my little fun images here. We've got, I'm sorry, this is too cute. We've got a gnome, and then we've got a baby gnome. I love the baby gnome. That is just too cute. And we've got some little tiny pumpkins. I don't think I've got a single stamp that is that small for a pumpkin. It is just adorable. And a little acorn and a little tiny coffee cup, which means that's going in my planner a lot. And even a little pumpkin pies. I think that's cute. But I want to stamp out more than just one because, you know what? I don't know what I want to make, and I'm probably going to make more than one card with this. So I'm going to be stamping out, I think I'm going to start off with just stamping out 2 panels. So I'm going to die cut out all these little guys that I stamped out. I'm using the new platform system from Spellbinders. You do need the platform base, the platform top, and then you're going to want to follow this guide here, which says platform base, platform top, 2 cutting plates, and then your cardstock and dies. So I've got the cardstock and dies here, and instead of one of these cutting plates, I am using my magic mat that I need to flatten back out. I'm going to try doing it this way and just put it kind of wonky there to see if I can get it to go through completely correctly. And then I'm going to run all of this through my die cutting machine. Yeah, I did an oops. I had it going the wrong direction, so it actually cut into my plate, but that's okay. Now I'm putting some post-it tape on the back because I want all of the bits to stay in place. And I'm going to go ahead and die cut out the second batch. So I've got everything cut out twice, and they're all backed with some sticky paper so that they're going to stay in place. It's going to make it a little easier for me to color, especially these tiny images. Also starting to swatch out some of the colors so that I can try to get these right. And I believe the FS4, believe it or not, is the lightest of these FS colors, which makes no sense to me. But I'm going to start, since I don't know what color scheme I'm going to go with, I'm going to go ahead and start with their little noses, because that I know I'm going to do a flesh color. Okay, and then I've got some for a little bit darker in the cheeks, but let me see what FS5 looks like. This one is also pretty light, but it looks like that might be a good one for the shadowing. So I'm going to put a little bit under and over on the outsides of the nose, like that. Blend it out a little bit more with this other color. I give them a little bit of a rounded nose look, so that looks pretty good. And I think that's all that I'm going to need for these two. I'm going to go ahead and do it on this other page too, just because. So again, FS4 is the lighter, and FS5 is the darker. Also, just going back over with the same marker a second time can usually darken up the places that you want darker. Okay. And I know I want my pumpkins. I believe I want them orange, and I don't know if I need to re-ink my orange markers or not though, but this one is the OR2. That one's pretty solid. Not sure about the OR1 because that's usually the one I run out of first. Looks like there is still ink in there, which is good. I'm going to go ahead and use the chisel nib just to make it quicker. I'm just going to lay down a layer of ink there. Not really worried about any kind of shaping on it, just filling that in and just trying not to go outside the lines too much. I'll do the same thing on my other 2 pumpkins on this page, and then I'll do the same thing on the other. Then I'm adding some shape to my little pumpkins with this OR2. Now, I have used this one so much that the nib isn't all that great, so it doesn't do those fine lines like what you'd like. So I'm hoping that my OR3, because it has not been as heavily used, will be able to just add in that little bit of detail for me. And I am kind of just flicking. So here's the thing, when I first started with alcohol markers, it was my Halloween coloring of some pumpkins that really got me to love my alcohol markers. But that also means that it was when I didn't know what the heck I was doing, so my heavy-handedness definitely showed through. The images turned out great, but this is a marker that I probably need to replace at some point. And all I'm doing is basically adding a little bit of darkness kind of where I already did, and I'm going to go back over everything with my my OR1 to add those highlights back in, and I can always go back in with colored pencil or marker or something as well if I want to add a little more detail somewhere. But these are tiny images, so you really don't have to. But I did want that little bit of shadowing behind the centerpiece. I did want that little bit of shadowing along those edges where the curves of my pumpkin are. So now I'm just kind of going back over all of my lightest areas and just blending some of that together so they're not quite so streaky. So anywhere that I'd want it to be a little bit darker. And then I'm going to come back in with my DR2, which is much lighter, and blend it in. So now we've got an apple that actually has a rounded shape. And that's it. That one was super, super quick. All of these images are so tiny that it is super, super quick and easy to do the coloring. So I think what I'm going to do at this point is just play some music and let you guys watch a lot of that coloring. I'm not going to do the whole thing on there, probably just parts of each of the images, so that you're not sitting here all friggin' day watching me color. And I will be back to chat with you in just a couple of minutes.
Tells me stories of life in a more perfect place where I wanna stay. It's easier to love when it's you by my side, shining through the cracks like the first morning light, feeling like a child through the days and the nights, living in your arms as years go by. It's easier to smile in the morning, following the linings on your cheeks. 'Cause baby, in your absence life is boring, so I'll never leave. It's easier to love. Oh, oh. It's easier to love. Oh, oh. Easier to love. Oh, oh. Easier to love. like your smile in the morning, following the linings on your cheeks. Cause baby, in your absence, life is boring, so I'll never leave. It's easier to love when it's you by my side, shining through the cracks like the first morning light, feeling like a child through the days and the nights, living in your arms as years go by. It's easier to love, oh, oh, easier to love, oh, oh. It's nothing like the way that you adore me. I can feel love from miles away. And the light in your eyes tells me stories of life in a more perfect place where I wanna stay. It's easier to love when it's you by my side, shining through the cracks like the first morning light, feeling like a child through the days and the nights, living in your arms as years go by. It's easier to love, oh, oh, easier to love, oh, oh. If the sky is falling down on me, you'll be the one that's by my side to lift away from me. And if I find myself in reckless seas, you'll be the one to pull me back into reality. Nothing like your smile in the morning, following the linings on your cheeks. Cause baby, in your absence, life is boring, so I'll never leave. It's easier to love, oh, oh. It's easier to love, oh, oh. Easier to love, oh, oh. Easier to love.
Okay, so what I'm going to attempt to do, because I really don't do this that much, because I haven't had, I have had iffy results, but that's probably because I don't practice enough. I am going to attempt to ink up my embossing folder and run this through so I can add some color to a plain white panel. I was thinking about using a different kind of panel, but you know, I think I'd rather experiment on white first. So if this works, great. I will definitely show that. If it doesn't, I might not show this in the video. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, this is the part that has the, everything is, all of the images are debossed, so they are sunk down in, so it's got, so the raised part is basically all of the stuff on the outside. This side has all of the raised pieces as being the images. So I think what I'm going to actually do is try it on two pieces, one with the inking on one side, one with the inking on the other side, and we shall see how it turns out. Now, I think part of my issue before is that I was not using my ink correctly. I was going straight down and I was getting the ink in all the wrong places. So I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go and grab my brayer. Okay. Take two. Anyhow, I messed up my first panel, and it wasn't because of the part that I thought might mess up. So I'm going to go ahead and go back and redo this one. And what I'm doing is to add color to my background panel that is going to be all of these lovely flowers. I think I am going to do it the other way this time. I'm going to be adding some ink using a brayer to the back of, to one side of my embossing folder, and I'm just going to be kind of random with it, although I went all over the entire thing with the cranberry fizz, brayering it off onto a scrap of paper to get most of the color off, and then I'll go back in with some orange, and this one is Orange Twist. And then I'm going to go in with some green, which is going to be some grass skirt. And it's really hard to tell when you're putting down some of these lighter colors whether or not you've actually got anything down on the embossing folder, but that's going to be totally fine. I can only say that because I had a successful test a little bit ago. I'm going to add some green kind of around the edges. Although my panel is nowhere near this size, I could actually do... I think I'm going to stick with just the smaller ones. I do have 2 of these, so I could do 2 at once. That would be fine. And to do that and make sure everything is on there the way I want it, I'm putting it down on the other side, the clean side, or clean-ish side. Put those down, and then I'll close my embossing folder. And I'll be trimming these down a little bit anyway, so if they're a little bit off, that's okay. So I'm putting that down. And now you can kind of see where the color's going to be, and it's mostly red. Okay, I did not add any water down, which I probably should have. But we shall see how it looks. I'm going to turn it back the opposite direction. So here's one of my panels. That looks good. And here's my other one. The first one was already popping out, so... And there's my second panel. I think both of those turned out pretty, and the colors are nice and light. You could always go with darker colors, but I think those turned out pretty good. Now this is going to be the part where I messed up the last time. So what I did, I'm glad I've got a second panel just in case now, I accidentally dumped a bunch of DIY shimmer spreads into a little bucket that I'm using to do splatter with. So I'm going to try not to let that happen this time. So I've got some Forever Red. This is made with just water and Forever Red Perfect Pearls. And I'm going to try not to pour it out into the container this time. Instead, just add some splatter. And because this is Perfect Pearls, it does have that shimmer in there too, so that's going to be kind of a pretty effect. And I think I'm also going to just do a little bit of a spray. Okay, now I'm going to kind of do the same thing with my gold. I went ahead and refilled my gold because this one was pretty much empty. So let's try adding a little bit of gold. I think I do need a paintbrush for this part. And it looks like I don't have it shook up quite enough. I just added the Perfect Pearls to it. And this is the way Perfect Pearls comes. It's in a little powder. So if you haven't tried it, you really should. This stuff is awesome. And these containers I have, I know I don't use them very often, but even when I do, I don't really use that much. And now looking at this, I think I need a little bit more Perfect Pearl in here. So into this bottle, I'm just putting like 3 heaping little teaspoons or 3 heaping little spoonfuls in there. And I'm going to just shake that back up. And hopefully I've got enough shimmer in there that is going to work to give me all of my pretty splatter. Okay, now I can see some of those little gold drops. So that is awesome. And then to kind of break up the color, because this is really light and it's just the red and gold, I think I'm going to add my green as well. Okay, so that is kind of an interesting background. I think next time I do the color on the back, I think I may want to do the raised instead of the impressions, but that is fine. This actually looks pretty cool anyway. Because you can always do it either way. Just do what you like, right? I'm going to dry this up, and then I can trim it down and start adding some images to finish up this card. Actually, this is pretty, this looks pretty good. It's not too overpowering or anything, but it does add a little bit of extra color. And it might actually look good over all of those images, which I might do on my other. But it's just kind of pulling in that gold that I already added as the splatter. I think that's going to look kind of good. And this is Delicata Gold Glitz ink. I think this is a good addition for all of our holiday, Christmas especially cards, but the gold works really well for fall and Thanksgiving theme too. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to put that, oh yeah, I think that is going to look really nice on that craft cardstock. So while I'm waiting for that panel to finish drying, I am going to go ahead and get my sentiment ready. Now, I'm not sure which one I want to use, so I'm going to actually stamp out 2 of them. I think I'm going to do a little heat embossing. So I've already added my anti-static powder down onto a couple of scraps of white cardstock. And I'm going to stamp out 2 of the sentiments in some gold, in that same gold ink, actually, the Delicata. It will work as an embossing, usually. But what I really like using like this for is in case I miss anything with the embossing powder, then I've got that gold in the background that is going to still be seen. You know what I mean? And these are new stamps, so all of these stamps are needing to be stamped multiple times to get a good impression. But that's perfectly fine because I'm using my Misty. And then I'm going to cover this in my Recollections Gold. This is one of the first embossing powders that I bought several years ago, and I still haven't finished using up the jar. Okay, that looks like it covered pretty good. And that one still needs a little bit over that F. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, and then I can just hit it with my heat gun. Okay, so there's one sentiment. Let me grab the other one and do the same thing. Okay, and all I need to do now for those is just trim them down so that they will fit on the front of my card. Okay, I decided I need to go ahead and do this other panel up and try doing a little bit of inking over the raised edges now that I did the inking on the other side. And I think this is turning out pretty cool. So I'm just adding some more of that Delicata Gold to the raised bits. I'm not doing the stems. I'm leaving the stems pretty much white, but like all the flowers and the leaves and stuff. And here's an acorn in there too, so I'm adding that a little bit of gold. I think this is turning out pretty cool. You guys will have to let me know which of the techniques that I'm trying with embossing powders, embossing folders that you like. Because again, I don't really play with them all that much, but they do make a lot of really cool, cool panels. I just need to play with them a little bit more. Oh, and I missed that little flower there. Okay, so I'm going to let this one dry a bit as well, and then I can trim it down and kind of do the same thing that I did with this one. Not sure if I'm going to add the splatter, but I'm thinking just all of that gold would look really pretty and then have a gold border around the outside once I trim it down. So this one is all ready to go, all dry, so now I can start adding everything to the front of a card base. I'm going to put this on a craft card base. I think that'll be pretty. And I don't do a lot of vertical, but I think I am going to do this one vertical. I'm also going to tack this down with some of my Scotch foam tape because it is a little bit warped from the water. So I'll go ahead and add my foam tape and then tack that down. Also going to add some liquid glue. I'm using art glitter glue for this. I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back of my foam so it gives it a little wiggle room in case I don't put it down perfect. Okay, so I want this to be facing this direction, and I think I want that leaf up there is what makes me think that's the right direction for this. So I'll go ahead and place that right in the center of my card and press it down. Next, I can pick out which of my little characters I want to add on here and how I want it to look. So I've got a general idea of where I think I want everything. For 2 cards, actually, I went ahead and added everything to a second card base from that second panel after adding the gold on there. And let me go ahead and so I'm going to start with a sentiment because I know where I want that. And I am going to use both of the sentiments. So we've got be thankful for the little things. I put it on some foam and using some art glitter glue so that I can move it if I get it down there incorrectly. I think that is going to be straight enough. Yep, that looks good. Next, I'm going to put the sunflower down pretty much flat. So I'm going to have some things popped up and some things flat to that embossed panel. Okay, so I want it about here. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think that's about where I want it. And then I'm going to put this pumpkin down again flat on there. Now, since this is an embossed panel and there are those raised pieces, I'm probably going to have to put a weight or something on this to make sure everything stays down. And I just want to cover up the base of my sunflower. It's one of the good things about having extra bits, right? So I have that kind of just overlapping. So we've got a couple of little baby pumpkins there. I think that is cute. Now I can add my gnomes. So I'll add the, I'm going to call this one the Papa Gnome. That looks pretty good. And then I'll add this little baby gnome. And that's going to finish up this first card. I think that turned out adorable. Okay, now I need to put together this one. The back panel, again, is the same embossing folder of the second panel from that embossing folder. And I did pop that one up on some of this foam tape, which is thin enough that it doesn't put too much dimension, but adds a little bit. And that means you can put a couple of layers and it's not going to be that big a deal. So I added the foam to a bunch of the pieces, and now I can go ahead and add these down. This one is going to be a horizontal card instead of a vertical. So again, I'm going to start off with my sentiment, put that kind of sort of in the middle and to the top. And basically the background is what decided on which direction. I've got these branches coming up this way that I thought looked really nice as kind of from the bottom. So some of these bits I am going to lay flat like I did on the other card. And then I'll lay this pumpkin down. Again, just covering up a little bit of that stem down at the bottom. What's funny is whenever I look at this, look at the pumpkins, it makes me think of the ones that I made from paper mache, you know, years ago. I actually got one in each of those shapes. It's too funny. Of course, I also did the jack-o'-lantern face and stuff out of it, so at some point I need to share that with you guys. If y'all are interested. If y'all aren't interested, I will just leave them as part of my Halloween decorations. Okay, so put this little pumpkin down there. Oh, those are so cute. Now I'll go ahead and add baby Gnomie. It kind of makes me want to cut out a bunch of pumpkins and just put them all across the front of a card. That would be just so stinking cute. Halloween is coming, so we still have time, right? Okay, and then have this one just a little bit to the side so I don't skip over any of that sentiment. And I think I may go ahead and add an additional pumpkin because I do still have one left. I think this is the only one I've got left. I could put him right there. Instead, okay, I'm going to put this one in the back. So lifting this guy up, and then I'm going to just glue this one down flat. Kind of tucked behind the little gnome. So it looks like they are standing in the middle of a pumpkin patch. And now I can put my Papa Gnome back. Yes, that looks a lot better. That way it doesn't have a little gap there at the bottom. Okay, so that is going to finish up these two adorable little fall Gnomie cards. I am so tickled. These turned out so cute. If you want to see some more videos where I'm making things using Spellbinders products, be sure to check out one of the playlists over here. You guys have a wonderful day, and remember, if I can make it, you can too. Talk to you next time.